In John's Gospel, we hear rather a lot about the world. And it's fair to say that most of that is pretty negative. This morning's moderately short Gospel, both the one you heard sung and the one you saw written, use the word Gospel 11 times, and never in a good way. In your written Gospel, Jesus actually says, I am not praying for the world. But that is just perhaps the most stark of a whole series of negative statements about the world, along with the declaration we heard sung. The world has hated the disciples. And so we might well begin to wonder what it all means, because it seems to me that rather a lot is at stake. We all live in the world after all. And no matter how much we allow our minds to wander and escape, however much I thoroughly enjoyed getting here early because of essential engineering works on the trains, and so I allowed myself to escape into Dalesford Organic for a few moments into a completely different world. Nonetheless, eventually we must all end up back in it, if only when the bill arrives. The world is what we've got, and how Christians live in it and relate to it and behave towards it surely is a pretty important business. Now, one of the ways that we could understand the world might be thinking of it as the physical environment. People, buildings, trees. Now, if that's what the Lord means by the world, and indeed at various points in history, some people have thought exactly that, then it looks as if the physical, the material, is something we need to flee from, and pretty sharpish. There have been types of Christianity throughout history that have basically been pretty gloomy about the risks of getting created at all, given how awful the world is. Heresies like Albigensianism in 13th century France, which taught that the body and the material world were evil and needed escaping from pretty swiftly. And today you'll still find people opposing the spiritual to the material, not least in the way in which spirituality is so often thought of as a purely mental, internal exercise, unconnected with the way we live or any sense of community. If you encounter somebody who tells you that they are spiritual but not religious, there is a very good chance that whatever spiritual practice they do on their own. And all this cannot surely be what our Lord means when he speaks about the world. Well, thankfully, a little time spent reading the scriptures as a whole and attending to the wisdom of the Christian tradition helps us to learn that it certainly isn't. In the prologue to his own gospel, St. John tells us that the Word, Christ, is active in the event of the making of the world, in the event of creation. All things came into being through him, we're told. And that passage strongly echoed the book of Genesis and the story of creation there, where after each stage, God sees that it is good. So this world that Jesus apparently speaks of so negatively this morning must be something a bit more subtle than people have sometimes suggested. The important distinction that our Lord makes is between being in the world rather than being of the world. We are creatures, living out our lives within the created order in the world, trying to live a good life in a fundamentally good creation. But being of the world, however, being worldly, is something we can and must avoid. And so finding our way in our daily lives through this requires regular evaluation and discernment. For clearly at times the gospel is going to put us at odds with trends in culture and society. We can't always just follow the flow of things where they lead. Now, as Christians, we can and we should, we must affirm all that is good in creation and the world. But sometimes the current of society pulls us away from what is good and beautiful and true. And if we are unknowingly swept along by it, we will surely become of the world and not merely in it. But knowing what's good and true and beautiful is by no means always easy, because of the log in each of our eyes, to which our Lord refers elsewhere. And so both as individuals and as the church, we need God's help to discern what's what. In Jesus' great prayer, the great farewell discourse, in a couple of chapters of St. John's Gospel, an excerpt of which we had this morning, he asks that the Father sanctify us in the truth. Our lives in this world must always be founded on the truth that Jesus has revealed to us, the truth that he himself has received from the Father. The yardstick, this is the yardstick for all our judgments. And to get a proper sense of this, we need to just turn back our minds to Thursday and see our lives in the light of the mystery of the Lord's ascension. At his ascension, he goes to heaven with his full humanity, which is to say, our humanity. He's opened up for us, therefore, the possibility that we too might be there one day with him. So why should we not be of the world? Because it's not our final home. Because ultimately, we belong in heaven, in the presence of God. Our lives in the world are pilgrimages towards that final goal of the world beyond. This world is good. Its gifts are good. But they're not enough, and they're not the final word. Enjoyed properly, they lead us to heaven. Enjoyed improperly, they drag us away. And so in pursuit of our heavenly goal, then, there are two pitfalls. First, if we find we are of the world, we should be aware we've been swept off course somehow. We're no longer able to make that journey towards our true home in God until we find our bearings again. And what can help us find them? What can help us become sanctified in the truth, clothed and covered in it, as that image suggests? What can help us is frequent examination of our conscience. When you go to bed at night, if you're anything like me, you spool back in your head the events of the day. Well, allow those to be moments when we ask God to show us where he's been, where we've seen his blessings, but also where we've missed him, where we've turned away or ignored the promptings of his Holy Spirit. And we'll allow God to help us see where we're going and steer us back on course. And we should keep close to him. By that, by regular reading of Scripture, by what you're doing now, being in church Sunday by Sunday, close to him at Mass, close to him in the Holy Communion. As Jesus prays this morning, keep them in thy name, that they may be one. While I was with them, I kept them in thy name, I have guarded them. The Lord's concern that we might be together, that we might be protected, is entirely because he knows how easy it is for us to be knocked off course. How easy it is for us to confuse the good things in our world with the purpose of our world. Isolated Christians so easily can become no Christian at all. But the second pitfall is the opposite extreme, and that is living lives entirely separated from reality. You don't need to be inside Dalesford Organic to do that. If we refuse to accept that we're in the world, with all the complexity and struggles that it brings, we're much less able to receive God's saving power in our lives. Not least because huddled away in whatever corner we've chosen, we'll have decided that certain people in certain situations will never speak to us of God. They can safely be cut off. They're not holy. They can be ignored. Or as William Blake so terrifyingly put it, that vision of Christ which thou dost see is my vision's greatest enemy. The intensity of what goes on in here is precisely to prepare us for a life in the world, engaging with all its glory and sin, in its confusion where glory and sin are interleaved, and we can't quite see the way ahead. Living fully in the world, in the way that the Lord has taught us, close to him in his church, and also open and engaged in the world, provides us with a way of navigating these two extremes. It provides safe passage for every pilgrim to their home in heaven, to our true native land, where Jesus has gone before now to prepare a place, and who sends us his Spirit, that we won't have to make all these judgments alone, but loving together, sanctified in the truth, we may come indeed to that place where we will no longer have that concern, be delivered from that worry, the speck, the log, cleared from our eyes, and we will see, and we will love, and we will praise God, who is Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, world without end.